Stephen A. Smith was on the Dan Lebatard show recently. Clip went viral. Dan Lebatard pretty much told him that Stephen A. and Skip Bayless in particular ruined sports talk. And Stephen A. went on they had an open conversation, and then Stephen A. went on a 45-minute rant on his own show about it. In part, like X mentioned before we were recording, because of the reaction. It was probably mostly due to the reaction, but he also like was taking a lot of shots at Lebatard and speaking on things that he didn't speak on when he had the opportunity to say it to his face.
And that's the thing now. Let's start by saying they're friends, like they're actual friends. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a relationship there. And so it's not like he's reacting to, which is why he would even entertain somebody telling him that in the first place, which is why when he had the conversation with Lebatard, it was a calm demeanor. So there's two things. I didn't like that. I guess he didn't like the reaction to the video, so he felt the need to kind of add a lot of sauce to it. You know what I'm saying? Because like, bro, you had someone, it wasn't like Lebatard, he heard Lebatard say it on his show. He flat up told him, like, yo, I hate what you and Skip did to sports talk. And we can have the conversation because I agree with Dan Lebatard. I think Stephen A. did ruin sports talk. And there's also the question of his reaction to Lebatard. But his reaction, I'm like, you had the opportunity to address that and say those things to him, and you didn't. You chose your own platform to then be loud and boisterous and bombastic. And it's like, okay, well, at that point, no, I'm not really taking you serious.
And 45 minutes, too. 45 episode just about this.
Yeah. And then, but on the flip end, it's like, right? The one thing I was a journalist. I was a journalist for this Charlotte Observer and the fucking New Orleans Picayune. And it's like, fam, don't tell me that what you're doing on television every day is journalism, because it's not. You know what I'm saying? You're threatening KD. You're talking spicy about Kyrie. Like, you are creating sports and you're creating entertainment. You can't.
What was you're a Dan Lebatard guy?
I am.
It's because both y'all from Florida or something? Like, what's the connection?
No, honestly.
Lebatard's actually from Jersey.
Now, I seen him on No, he's from Miami. I seen him on PTI, and then I listened to his show back before he had a podcast, before he was national.
Highly questionable.
I had to go, no, before even that, because before his radio show went national, his show was literally just local to Miami. I would go online and listen to his show in Miami because I worked till 1 a.m. and just listen to it because I just, I liked his style, and his show was funny as shit. But then he went national, then he got the TV show, then he kind of got more exposure. But his whole show was just kind of just trying to be the opposite of what Stephen A. has created. Like, there's a reason why shows like NFL Live, right, with Mina Kimes, why when they just sit down and just talk actual sports, it goes viral every time and everybody's quote tweeting it. Why? Because that's so rare for someone just to sit, the Zach Lowe's, the Bill Barnwells, they're so rare because Stephen A. and Skip created a culture where it's just like, yo, go be loud and say stupid shit on TV. Yeah, that's the reason that Kendrick Perkins, the biggest crime, Stephen A.'s biggest crime, real quick, Lerk, is that he's the reason that Kendrick Perkins is employed.
That's fair.
Kendrick Perkins would not be on fucking TV if it wasn't for Stephen A. Smith. That's the culture that says, yo, we need him on our fucking television.
And that was something that Lebatard pointed out, was like, he said it's not that you're no longer a journalist when you're doing the show, is that the journalism shrinks and y'all don't really care about the journalistic ethics or protocol, like anything journalistic, and it's more just about entertainment and creating a debate. And one of the examples he used in his argument was one of the reasons why Stephen A. got rid of Max Kellerman from First Take, which is Stephen A.'s words were Max Kellerman was more nuanced and it wasn't really about the debate and then the arguing. He wanted to talk nuance.
But like, it's a TV show now.
No, and that was Stephen A.'s point. Stephen A. used. He's like, people have come to expect a certain thing of me. So if I want to keep making money, I gotta feed the audience what they want.
But then don't shove your journalism degree in my face.
But let me tell y'all what ESPN and Stephen A. do, right? So indirectly, there is no Mina Kimes without Stephen A. There is no NFL Live that X enjoys, I enjoy, that we all enjoy without what Stephen A. does at 7 a.m. So now let me brief like let me give like a brief synopsis of what I believe they do, and then like you can agree or disagree. It might like I might be way off on this, but like
I see where you're going with this.
Something pops up in the news worlds, right? Let's say Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, right? Stephen A tees it up with an outlandish argument, right? Brings everybody in. They're like, oh, like now we're talking about Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. This doesn't sound like this sounds like an interesting debate. Maybe these two don't provide the nuance that Mina Kimes do, but they entertain me to where now 6 hours later is when Mina Kimes is actually discussing it at a better level. There's going to be people that want to listen to her talk about it because they listen to Stephen A talk about it in the morning. Then later that night, you have SVP talk about it, and then boom, Sunday Night Football, you have Chiefs Bill, right? Like it's all a setup. It's like a pitcher. Like Stephen A is the fastball, and maybe Mina Kimes is the strikeout pitch. But without the fastball, that curveball doesn't work.
So what I'll say is, society as a whole, right? Their attention span is a lot shorter. So let's be real. Let's be very honest here. Stephen A's not watching these games, right? Like we know that. He's not watching it. Some fucking intern is handing him a fucking cue card with some things to talk about. But you listen to Stephen A talk for 10 minutes and you know that he didn't actually watch the games. But who he appeals to is other fans who also don't watch the games, right? Because we learned that on Twitter. How many people, their arguments are based off of what they saw on TNT. If it's the two teams that were on TNT, you're going to see a ton of opinions. If it was a game that took place on League Pass, you're not going to see a lot of opinions about it. But then they can go on First Take, and there's somebody else who also didn't watch the game. And it's just the uninformed leading conversations to the uninformed, but they throw in enough buzzwords and enough topics to kind of keep them engaged. But it's like, bro, no, I don't think that people like Mina Kimes, it's a rarity that she's been able to get to where she's at. It wasn't because Stephen A was throwing her the alley-oop. It's that she's had to thrive in a world to where nuance, no one cares about it. No one cares about context and nuance and actually understanding shit. We have, with society, people read the headlines and don't read the actual article. And that's what people want. Give me headlines. If I want to click a 10,000-word article, I'm not coming to you. Give me the headlines. Tell me how to feel. I didn't have time to watch all the games. Tell me how I should feel. You know what I'm saying? Or they're looking for an echo chamber of their own uninformed thoughts and opinions. But he has one. I mean, Skip and Shannon, like, when was the last time you watched Skip and Shannon and you learned something? Like, but it's
they're not designed. Like, I'm not saying first though, like I in no way, shape, or form think Mina Kimes owes Stephen A like a thank you for her career. What I'm saying is that show doesn't have the viewership without the viewership First Take gets, right? It's all the same general viewers. First Take brings them in, they stick around for that show because, yeah, they don't like nuance and they like the buzzwords and they like that. And then when they get the nuance later in the day, it's more interesting for them. Like, for example, the show you brought up, Pardon the Interruption, that's the original First Take. Like when we were kids growing up, they did the exact same thing. They probably still do. I don't ever watch the show anymore. But Around the Horn, Pardon the Interruption, those were the original First Take where it's like, you watch those, you're not there for nuance, and then later...
Structure-wise, yes. But Mike Wilburn and Tony Kornheiser, they were educated. They were pretty Now, I wouldn't say that they're Mina. They're not Mina.
Nah, yeah, they are. And another thing is, like, they would even fact check mid-episode, too.
I was less educated then, so I felt like they were educated. They might not have actually been. Like, if I went back and watched those episodes, I might be like, yo, these guys were way closer to Stephen A than I thought. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't necessarily know what I was talking about either.
That was one of Stephen A's counterpoints, too. He brought up all those shows and a few other ones and said people were doing this before him, so why is he the one that...
Well, but see, it wasn't. But here's
my biggest issue before you even get into all that. My biggest issue with Stephen A's comments was him coming at podcasters and people that don't have journalistic degrees.
Just bullshit. You thinking you need a journalism degree to dispute the bullshit he says? No, let's keep it real. No one's really watching First Take either, right? Like when you look at
they're the number one fucking rated show, bro.
Yeah, but that's like being I can't say the word, but the tallest small person. Like, yes, maybe you are rated number one, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a reporter, right, that every day he posts what show had more viewers than like Skip show. And we think Skip, he's this huge media personality. Bro, like maybe 100,000 people, if that on a good day, are actually watching that show. But what they do is they chase moments, right? They want to say the one thing that somebody's gonna post to Twitter that 1,000 people will then retweet, which will anger 1,000 more, which will cause them to fucking quote tweet it, and now it looks like fake engagement. When the fact is no one's tuning into Skip, but they created a moment online and it gives you the, why do you think Skip's on Twitter always talking about LeBron? He wants to say the thing to anger you enough to hit retweet and to disagree with him. And the second you do that, he's won. And that's all they're just chasing moments.
But he, like, the thing about the like Skip is like they're not watching a show because they're watching First Take. You know what I mean? Like if Skip was still with Stephen A, that's the number one rated show. Like it's not Skip's fault. It's like if you're on at the same time as First Take, like there is no one bigger than Stephen A right now in the sports world. Now flip it. Like I remember, I believe the name of the show was actually it's not that. What was the name of the show he had that came on at like 11 at night back in the day? Like when he first got into ESPN, he was doing cold pizza once a week.
The late night show?
The late night show. Allen Iverson was a guest like once a month.
He was the first guest on his show, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, was it Unquestionable? Something along those?
It was like Uncut with Stephen A.
Something like that. Something like that. It doesn't matter. Like the formula for ESPN's always been the same. Clickbait and then nuance later in the day. Stephen A has just flipped from being the nuance to the clickbait. It is what it is. Like Dan Lebatard, bro, that highly questionable wasn't exactly like JJ Redick's podcast. It was funny.
It was funny. It wasn't a debate show, but it's not like I was learning anything there either.
No.
Yeah.
And they were literally just, that was a fucking comedy show on ESPN, bro.
No, but that's the point of his show. The point of his show was like, yo, you're listening to us on ESPN in the number one time slot with the highest rated radio show ESPN has. We don't even talk about sports. You know what I'm saying? We literally talk about, every week they have a fucking zookeeper coming and talk about fucking animals. Or they have some random people, they don't talk about sports because it's like, nobody really, because when you look at the viewership and the listening numbers, they can tell when people tune in and out. Nobody actually wants in-depth sports coverage, but that's as a result of they're so used to one way of being fed information. It's like now it's like sit there and we're going to force feed you actual information. Nobody really has patience for it, but the two of kind of are responsible for each other. Stephen A is a reaction to the general population's lack of fucking patience, right? But in return, when all you've been fed is constant headlines, buzzwords, give me moments, I don't actually want to read anything, well, then that allows ESPN to double down to where now fucking Mike Greenberg, who has never said anything fucking remotely smart about sports, has 7 fucking shows.
Listen, we're not going to disrespect Mike and Mike. That's what we're not.
Yo, Mike and Mike is
I will die.
I grew up on that shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna die on the. I'm dying on the Mike.
No, I'm not talking about Mike and Mike. It was everything Mike Greenberg has done since then. Right? Why did they break up Mike and Mike? Because nobody wanted actual good fucking sports cut. Their interviews were actually halfway decent. They could get something out of the commissioner, something out of
Golick didn't like him, right?
Yeah, they hated each other at the end.
Because Greenberg was like, I want something more. I want to be. He looked at Stephen A. I want that. The way Stephen A. is on this show, that show, I want that. So then they tried that shit with Mike Greenberg, but it didn't work, right? Like literally, they removed Dan Lebatard, the number one rated radio show, the number one rated podcast in the entire network. They removed him from the Colin Cowherd spot so that they could give it to Mike fucking Greenberg. Tell me if Mike Greenberg has come even remotely close to the numbers Dan Lebatard put up. He hasn't. Right? Because
I don't know. I can honestly say I've never in my life checked the numbers on any of this.
You know who the biggest podcast, the highest grossing podcast is right now?
In the world?
Joe Rogan.
Not outside of Joe Rogan. And like the people like that who've been given like that still run like ad revenue. No, Dan Lebatard. They gross more than Part of My Take. They gross more than all these other.
Pat McAfee too?
Yeah. Now, McAfee got the bag for like exclusivity and shit, you know what I'm saying? But
well, he's not exclusive. That's what's funny. Like he came out a week ago. He did like a 5-minute segment. He's like, bro, everyone thinks I'm exclusive. FanDuel is just a sponsor. Like we can leave whenever we want. Type shit.
Yeah.
Like, bro, he opened up negotiations to everybody. Like, apparently he's looking for like $1 billion.
Yeah,
like literally $1 billion, not even like exaggerating that number.
No, I mean it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? But it's just
he's white and people fuck with him. I don't see why he don't go for it.
And
Well,
he's funny.
he is there is no one better in the sports media world right now. Like
Dude,
maybe he's not
hilarious.
the most nuanced.
He's
he might not know
hilarious,
what the fuck
and he
he's
be
talking
having
about,
inside information.
But he's phenomenal at what he does, and he's turned AJ Hawk into like a personable individual. I don't like AJ Hawk. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, if you told me before I started watching that show that like if he would speak and I'd be like, yo, this guy doesn't have CTE, like I'd be like, you're crazy. Like now he talks, I'm like, oh, he's like a human, I guess. A bad human, but a human.
But to bring back to the original question, stop, if you're Stephen A, stop telling me that you never abandon your journalistic integrity when all you do every day is abandon your journalistic integrity because you're an entertainer. Now, if you want, I respect the hustle. Don't get me wrong. Let me say this. I think Stephen A. Smith is underpaid. Whatever he's currently being paid, he deserves much more, right?
Wildly.
But don't tell me that your number one job is journalism one, entertainment second. No, you're an entertainer. So go entertain. It's like Barkley. When you listen to Barkley, do you expect serious basketball talk? I don't. We tune in because
expect him to say a full
funny.
sentence without losing his train of thought.
They don't even know who these players are. Him and Shaq, like I don't even know who that guy
and
is.
he buys into it, yo. He buys into it, which I like, and I actually agree with that aspect of what.
But he actually does watch games, though.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't watch. He doesn't always watch the games
No,
that they're supposed to be covering, but he be watching.
No, he doesn't. No,
but he tells you he don't watch. Like,
he will
he knows
say
any of these
watch
college players that when he's on Arch Manage, you think him and Kenny Smith have any fucking idea who the backup two guard is for Gonzaga?
So that's what I was actually gonna bring that up, X. Like, yeah, like because I agree with what you're saying. Like Stephen A should just own up to it. I think it's rich that Dan Lebatard's the one that said it, to be honest. Like that's kind of where like I have the pushback. But in terms of Charles Barkley, during the first round or second round, they were talking about San Diego State, and Kenny Smith's like talking about like defense. You know, he ran to the board, did like a 3-minute segment on defense. He comes back, Charles Barkley goes, yo, don't nobody care about defense.
Right? But Charles Barkley is what he is. So if you telling me Charles Barkley, bro, go be Charles Barkley. Yeah. Get paid to entertain. But don't shove your journalism degree. Don't tell me how long you working the local beat in Philadelphia and how you paid your dues. Like, yo, fam, so was Skip. Skip was a beat reporter for the Giants. Whoever the fuck he was, San Francisco.
Cowboys. He was a Jerry Jones dick writer. Like he has multiple Jerry Jones books. It's disgusting behavior.
Come on, but that's not what they're doing. So just own up to it. But it's not sexy to say that, right? But also it's like I get it, right? Like JJ Redick is good on TV, but he's terrible on First Take because like Max Kellerman, JJ Redick wants to have nuanced basketball conversations. And that is always going to clash with Stephen A. And we like it because then when a little 90-second clip gets released on Twitter, we're like, yeah, JJ, give him hell. But I'm not watching that for fucking 3 hours because I either want nuance or I want Stephen A. and the two don't clash, which I understand why he got rid of Max. But you got rid of Max because you were not trying to be a journalist. So just say that, own up to it, and go cash your fucking checks. Because you're good at what you do.
And stop coming at motherfuckers that didn't take the same route as you, bro.
JJ Redick's actually the one that said every single point I made on this topic, by the way. The moment you said his name, I realized who I heard all that from. None of that was me. That was all JJ Redick. Because I recently listened to a Steph Curry podcast and he goes, yo, your fan base is nuts. They hate me because I said Luke is a better like clutch player than you. And Steph was like, yo, why'd you say that? Well, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. So the way ESPN operates is they bring you in a room. They decide what the topics for every show are going to be for the day. First Take starts it off. So you have to disagree. You have to entertain and you have to debate. That way, when the jump happens later and they actually discuss it, like Richard Jefferson and all of them, like everyone's going to watch because they've already been entertained, essentially. And he's like, I had to choose Luka because I think Stephen A had Steph type of thing. And it just is what it is. And he had to come up with reasons why. So
these people argue points they don't even believe in just because you need a debate. If everyone's like, yeah, you know what, Deion, you made great points. Like, that's why our podcast is boring when we all agree. Like, yo, they love it when me and you go head to head. Because if me and you, like, yo, astute observation there, Deion. Nobody wants to listen to that shit. They want to hear us yell at each other. Real. So it's like,
it's a network they're on. So it's like one show sets up the next, sets up the next, sets up the next. It is what it is. He should admit it though. I agree with that point.
Just admit it.
I just think it's really rich that the fucking host of Highly Questionable is the one talking shit though. Like,
yeah,
come on. Come on.
All right,
yeah, he had his pops on there.
That was the point of it. It gave him, because I guess him and his pops, I mean, they didn't have the best rate. That gave him an opportunity to spend time with
Bomani
his pops.
make a name for himself though.
Bro, his pops got a big fucking bag for that fucking show. And it's like, bro, if you're gonna pay me to make a television show with my pops, I'll do it about whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the radio show now, like they actually tackle, like, he has nuance. Like the most sensitive subjects out there, he was shunned at ESPN because the things that they wouldn't discuss on a typical program, he would, and they hated him for it. You know what I'm saying? But he was so successful that he was untouchable for a long time. But yeah, I think I said what I had to say about that. But
if JJ Redick was the one that said everything Lebatard said, I think I'd have a different reaction. I'll be honest about that.
But Dan Lebatard is a journalist, though. He still writes. What's the last journalistic thing he did?
No, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't write for the Herald anymore.
No, but he still writes columns though.
Just because Stephen A is farther along in his career doesn't make him any less of a journalist than Lebatard. Lebatard would trade spots with Stephen A tomorrow.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bro, highly questionable was just first take, but they agreed sometimes. That's all it was. It was 30-minute first take.
They tried to make Lebatard Stephen A, but what he said was, even when he went from local to national, he said, I'll go from local to national. I'm still going to make a Miami show. Now, what helped at the time was that the Miami Heat were at the top of the world. So it just happened that most of sports coverage was revolving around the Heat. So it kind of went hand in hand. Where you saw the disconnect was that as soon as Miami was no longer the epicenter of sports coverage and it was still a Miami show, that's when they're like, hey, can you kind of dip into, can you talk Cowboys for a segment? And he's like, why the fuck do I want to talk
But not
Cowboys?
only that, he was also ditching his journalistic integrity to a point. Like, remember when Ozzie Guillen was the fucking manager of the Miami Marlins? He was going crazy on him until he got fired. And that's not the only they used to clown everybody on that show and talk mad shit about people.
He tried to turn his pops into Guillermo from Jimmy Kimmel. Like, bro, I'm not saying people didn't want to watch. I'm not saying people didn't want to watch.
That sounded a bit racist.
So here's the secret.
The secret
is that their entire show, right? It's a shtick. So if you tune in and you've never listened to Dan Lebatard and you just tune in, you think you have no idea what you're listening to.
No, I understand.
Everything is sad. It's all satire.
That's my point.
Exactly. Like at the same time, if you're making a satirical show and you're coming at people, granted, it's all fun, right? It's all in good fun. But at the end of the day, that's not being a journalist, though.
If he could do, like, if he was big enough and like as talented as Stephen A to do what Stephen A does, he would do it. Like, I get that, like, he didn't get that, so now he's gonna go scorch dirt.
You realize they gave him a that DraftKings gave him a $50 million bag, right? Like,
no.
Right?
Listen, I'm not saying.
So you're like, oh, we trade places. Like, bro, Stephen A gets paid about $10 million a year. About $10 million a year, right?
That we know about.
Let's make it 20. They gave him a $50 million bag, and that's just for sponsorship. They're still the highest grossing ad podcast in the game, and that includes fucking Pardon My Take, which you know how many listeners they get. He's not starving for Stephen A. Smith money, is what I'm saying.
I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that. I'm just saying if he could do at ESPN what Stephen A. does, I do believe he would do it. They aren't that, like, my thing is I just don't think they're that far off. Like, I guess I could be wrong on that, but like, I don't think if his whole show is satire, like, I don't feel like I'm that far off on that.
No, but it's like pointed satire. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for example, when I watch Nope, I know that fucking Jordan Peele is trying to tell me something, but unless I know specifically, or at least I'm tuned in up to where I know the message he's trying to tell me, I'm just kind of like, yo, that shit sucks. Nope sucked, right? But if you're in the know and if you know specifically what he's alluding to, then it's like, oh, it's deeper than that. Oh, I see what he was trying to do. I see what that meant. I see what the Japanese character, what he represented, or what the other character, what he represented. I don't care enough to actually understand what he's trying to get across. So to the average viewer, Stephen A. is no different than Lebatard. But I've been listening for like close to 10 years. Everything they do is kind of like I'm gonna make a mockery of this thing that ESPN is putting in your face, and I'm just gonna mock it. But also, I'm gonna be their highest rated show while I'm mocking the very same company that pays me money. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't know, then you don't know. But again, I don't expect the average person to view that. So I do throw on my cape for him. But
is that not incredibly similar to what First Take does?
No. Like, for example, when you were listening to sports radio, did you ever hear a Dan Lebatard commercial?
No, but like what I'm saying
is, like, did you ever see when you watch TV, did you ever see a Dan Lebatard commercial on TV?
But don't you think that like when they discuss like the GOAT, or that like they're just making a mockery of? They like we just said they don't even believe what they're saying.
No, because I know they're not making a mockery of it, because Stephen A. Smith is telling me that he was a journalist at the New Orleans Picayune for 10 years. And how dare you accuse him of not being a journalist first and foremost? So he's trying to lend credence to the bullshit he does. Dan Lebatard is telling you, we make a mockery of sports talk. We're the #1 rated show on a network that all they do is talk about sports, and we're going to talk to a zookeeper for the next hour.
Listen,
I'm going to tell you about fucking how many babies seahorses have.
Just because Stephen A. doesn't say the quiet part out loud doesn't make it not true. I guess is what I would say.
He's Stephen A. is trying to pretend that it isn't a shtick. It is a shtick. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Just say what it is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they have the same shtick. They're the same person. That's why I maybe, okay, I guess phrase it like this. If you were like, yo, Dan Lebatard can be the one to say it because he is Stephen A. Smith and he's calling him on his bullshit, yeah, I agree with that. If it's like, yo, this guy's above Stephen A., so like he's going to be able to, like, nah, they're the same person.
But like the difference is, like, for example, Dana White, right? Dana White used to be on the Dan Lebatard show all the time. Stephen A. Smith, obviously friends with Dana White. When Dana White slapped his wife, right? Stephen A. Smith was practically crying. He was Samuel Jackson and fucking Django, just hugging on to the, you know what I'm saying? Dan Lebatard was on there like, yo, this like he kept it real. A journalist does that. A journalist doesn't try to skirt around the issue. Dan Lebatard talked about it.
His show's on ESPN?
Not anymore. He's independent. It's just a podcast now.
But that's why Stephen A. was crying on ESPN.
But even back when he was on the radio, Dana White stopped going, because even then, when Dana White was underpaying players and signing motherfuckers to shady contacts.
When did Dan Lebatard leave ESPN though?
I like 3 years ago.
So that's when the ESPN UFC deal started. So I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying Stephen A. is right. Like, you should not be crying because you have a domestic abuser as a coworker. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm just saying, like, some of this stuff is like, I mean, what else? He has no ability to call Dana White on that, because like ESPN is paying the UFC $1 billion a year. Like, they're not going to.
But you're a journalist, though.
You're not.
Yeah,
you're
but his employee. But his employee.
You're an ESPN employee now.
We understand that. So then accept that, but don't put your journalism degree in my face. That's all I'm saying. Because a journalist will address it. That's all I'm saying.
Agree. I'm just saying, like, Dan Lebatard, if Dan Lebatard was with ESPN, he'd do the same shit. You don't have a choice. On that network, Dana White might as well own ESPN. Like, the UFC is like their biggest breadwinner. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, there is, Scott Van Pelt is one of the better journalists in the world, quote unquote, whatever that may mean now. And he was caping for Dana White. If SVP's doing it, everybody gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, the CEO of ESPN or Disney, that Igor guy, sent that little email out, and if you don't follow that email, they will replace you. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
It can happen to anybody. Especially if you're a minority. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if race has anything to do with it, because SVP was caping. Bro, listen, you cape for Dana White until it blows over. Because remember, it blew over, and then Stephen A. called him out on the shit, right? So, like, until it blows over, you better cape for that shit, unfortunately.